You are listening to The Platform, a podcast to learn about our digital world. I am Mike Veldhuis, partner at Nolte.com.
I'm Ed Macosky, head of products at Boomi.
Welcome to episode number 7, Top Trends in Data and Value. And the careful listener noticed that I'm not talking about episode number 3. It's actually episode number 7. It made more sense data-wise to continue counting beyond 4, doesn't it, Ed?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Welcome in our third podcast we're going to record about data-driven companies, and really a pleasure, episode 1 and 2. And today we're going to talk about the future. But before we do so, I read something in the news earlier today about that it's 140 years ago that in the Netherlands we were first capable of having a telephone conversation.
Wow, that's interesting.
And that's 5 years.
I did not know that.
5 years after the invention of the telephone system by Bell and Watson, is it? I think. I found it very cool.
Very, very cool. That can relate to data quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, it's like, and it's not that long ago, you know. Everything went so fast, and that we are here now. That's just crazy. And a funny fact, in the light of that, we're going to talk about everything else that's going to happen in the future. And it's awesome to have you a part of this series because you're in the leadership team of Boomi. You're a thought leader on integration. So my question is pure and simple. What's going to happen in the future, Ed?
What is going to happen in the future? Well, I mean, we're in this connected world. I mean, the future is literally going to be more and more connection, people, data, etc. I mean, we're seeing this evolution. That's what really excites me. I think we talked previously about, what is integration, and people didn't understand what this stuff was earlier in my career, but it's everywhere. And I think things, people, everything is going to be connected at some point. So it's fun to be kind of leading the charge in that from a vendor perspective.
Yeah, there are some topics that are in. I always love to read articles from Gartner. They have this hype cycle, which is just awesome. Drink a beer, watch the hype cycle. One of my favorite things to do. And of course, there are artificial intelligence, machine learning, and blockchain. Is this something that you are working on as Boomi?
All of the above. So, I mean, from a blockchain perspective, we've got connectivity to those. We're working with some early adopters on how they can uptake this technology, so on and so forth. I think last I saw that may be somewhere in the trough of disillusionment or something from a Gartner perspective, but there's a lot of exciting things going on there. Prototypes, obviously everyone that's heard of blockchain connects it to cryptocurrency in some way, shape, or form. Another, in the AI ML space, we actually are early in a partnership with a company called Able. We're working with them fairly closely. They're bringing AI and ML to low-code developers as well. With many of these new technologies, what happens is, early on in the cycle, it's very technical. It's very hard, or at least it feels that way to people. They need to understand something new, and then there's a lot of code, so on and so forth. Blockchain, AI, ML, same thing. You have data scientists. There's this learning curve. But what Able has done is they brought forth, a citizen type experience to doing AI and ML, and we've co-developed some connectivity to their system. So essentially, as you're integrating systems, you can dump data off the side into their platform and their tool set in order to make decisions and look forward, about your business. And a lot of those use cases are in the sales. What are my sales going to look like if I slide some bars in their product and I add or remove more sales reps, that sort of thing. That's the kind of stuff that people are most interested in today. But there's a lot of use cases for that to kind of predict the future for yourself.
What is it exactly what you're referring to? A slider for sales?
They have sliders, and this is how citizen it is, right? So it's not about writing code to come up with these models. They create models for you, and you can log into their system and slide bars around. Okay, it's a, okay, I've got one sales rep or I've got 50. I can slide the bar and I can make decisions on my business. That's just one example, but you can say how much marketing funding, those types of things. You can build these models and predict the future for your business. It's pretty cool.
Okay, awesome. The title is Top Trends. Are those the trends that I just mentioned, or is there more happening in this space?
I do think blockchain is a trend. Jury's out for me on where that is going. Right, there's a lot of things around data and data sovereignty, privacy things. We'll see how that works itself out. But I do think AI and artificial intelligence and machine learning is certainly a futuristic trend that's going to keep going. Right. Around it's just automation in general. How do I predict the future with the data that I have? I think that's extremely valuable to everyone. And again, you'll hit some moral compass at some point around robotics and what these things can do. I don't have a tinfoil hat on here, so that doesn't bother me. but I do think that is a future, and that's one of the more exciting things for me, is to see where that journey takes us.
The videos I saw from Boston, what was the name of that company that builds the robots? Boston. No, whatever. I put it in the show now. So look it up and put it in the show. They're kicking robots. They're trying, if the robot starts defending itself or trying to kick it off of a box, it's hurtful for the robots. It's it's sad.
For robots.
For robots, yeah. I get a lot of questions in my organization from within Nalta. Mike, there are all stuff happening in the blockchain world, and we have all these generations of different blockchains, which started with Bitcoin, later Ethereum, and now there are blockchain level 4 or level 3 systems that enables, for instance, the build of decentralized applications and stuff like that. So decentralization of your data and decentralization of your systems is becoming something of the near future. There even talks about the Internet OS actually happening. Is this something that Boomi has a play in, something that you are seeing happening in the US?
So we do have a number of our customers that are connecting their systems to blockchains, and that's kind of the role we're playing today. Pulling from other data sources and bringing these things in. I do think the majority of what they're doing, though, at this point is development, prototyping, kind of dreaming of what they can do with blockchains. But frankly, from a go-to-market perspective and our primary customer use cases, we're not seeing that much uptick in it. It doesn't mean that it's not something of the future. That's why, I made the comment earlier, the jury's still out for us. What I think it is in the cycle, at least what we see with our customers is, people, particularly with the pandemic, they were trying to, our customers were trying to solve how to keep the lights on of their business, how to make these digital transformations. And it's not that blockchain couldn't help them with that. I just think it was not the immediate priority that we've seen in the last year or two. But I do think, there's potential coming out of this. We're seeing, there has been this kickstart in digital transformation. Those who have been behind are now accelerating things. A lot of small banks have engaged with us on transforming their business, where they've had in-person kind of operations and let the big banks do the online thing. But as they've now accelerated their transformation to try to compete with these big banks, I think there is possibility, particularly there's been some resistance to using blockchain in the financial industry as a whole. But there's some evidence coming that, these banks are being pushed, and who knows, maybe these smaller banks will start pushing the envelope and force the bigger banks to uptake some of this. And we're seeing some of the big banks are prototyping and doing some development work around this and putting a lot of money behind it. So it is something we could be at a tipping point where it takes off.
So actually what you're saying is the top trends in value is more on the axis of digital transformation actually happening. Maybe yes. Because of Corona, it got a Kickstarter, right?
Yep.
Yeah. When I talk to our partners and customers, what a lot of IT guys or management is struggling with, and actually I had 2 calls today in 2 different examples where they told me, okay, our management or our C-level heard about the HoloGlass, or they learned about AI, or they learned about blockchain. And now we have to do something with blockchain. But it's not our first priority. Our first priority is making sure we have this data architecture layer in place, so we're able to really translate business needs into technology to make it work. And maybe in the future we'll have this HoloLens or other fancy stuff, but it's not our priority right now. It's not where the world is heading now. Is that something that resonates with you?
It absolutely does. I mean, it goes back to, that's where you have the intersection of AI, ML, and data, data warehousing, data marts, et cetera, right? I do see, including us, we have our own data warehouse based on the underneath our platform that gives us intelligence on things we want to do. We struggled with some of the same things. Our business kept asking us, what about this? What about that? Can you give us this data? And it was, hey, we're in the process. All these new technologies are rising around, Snowflake is one of them in a data warehousing kind of space, and others. Oracle's got autonomous data warehouse, et cetera. So these different data stores are rising, and that's a trend. And a lot of businesses today are focused on that. How can I deal with my massive amounts of data, literally terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of data? You'll hear about this data explosion that's happening in the world. Michael Dell has talked about it himself, and people are struggling with that first. As they get those architectures in place, then they can look at forward. What can we do with that data? Some companies are ahead of others.
Yeah.
But again, pre-pandemic, the folks were not focused enough, in my opinion, on digital transformations. Their businesses were doing well, economies were doing well. And this forced a trigger. So I do think some of this will accelerate. People are getting their things in place. And
I really hope it's sticky as well, Yeah. We have to solve the world from Corona. We have to get rid of it. But I hope this movement is sticky. And we keep on developing this way. It would be awesome. In our preparation, you had a comment, and that is really cool. And the comment was, forget my data. So we're always talking about storing data. And you should have the opportunity to forget data. Is that something you would like to elaborate on for our audience?
I would, because this ties back to blockchain as well, right? So the whole concept of blockchain is you're basically locking that data and that history in for the value of why you're doing that. You're locking it in so you have the trail and nobody can change that. But with data sovereignty, data privacy, these data laws across the world, different countries have different things. We're seeing a lot of pressure about forget my data. So in the integration systems we have, our customers are passing a lot of data between our systems, and we have the responsibility to forget that data on their behalf based on what they'd like us to do. So it's very interesting for me to look out and see where those two worlds collide, because many of these customers are saying, I want data forgotten, but within 30 days. Some customers saying, I want you to keep a history of data, so I have it because I have other privacy requirements to keep that history. So we're in an interesting time right now based on individuals wanting to be forgotten.
Cool. And time flies again.
It does.
Oh man, it's too fast. But it's great to dream about this future of cool stuff for your company. But actually achieving business outcomes now with data enables the innovation for the future. It makes money now, so you're able to keep on moving,
Exactly.
And I have this bad joke. It keeps popping into my mind because we opened with the telephone connection that being set up 140 years ago in the Netherlands, the first one. Do you know who the best salesman ever was on Earth? You no clue?
No. Nope.
The one who sold the first telephone was. You could not
Oh
call
my
it.
goodness.
That's bad.
Oh my goodness. Terrible. It's terrible.
Okay, have fun. See you in the next episode. Bye.